developed into accessory dwelling units. And the beauty of that, as you mentioned, is that the home, it's got to be homeowner occupied. And it can't be condoed out, developed into houses. And if people know that it's an available tool, I don't know that I think more and more people go above that. It's 1,200 square feet. Is moving forward with it, and it seems to be catching on. And that Newburyport is also looking at it. In Newton, Emily Norton actually led the charge to get that passed by right, as long as it fits within 1,000 square feet. I think that's our unit size. And if you go above that, it's 1,200 square feet. And as you mentioned, that's a wonderful opportunity to create more housing in our existing single family zones that I think more and more people should know about and also apply for. I'm not really sure why it hasn't caught on fire. I don't know if it's because of the permitting and licensing requirements that may be attached to it. I don't know if enough people know that it's an available tool, but I also like the idea that detached dwellings are another way to do it. You mentioned carriage houses, and Newton has a number of historic neighborhoods with these carriage houses, and I think those could also be encouraged to be developed into accessory dwelling units. And the beauty of that, as you mentioned, is that the home, it's got to be homeowner occupied. And it can't be condoed out. And I think that shows more of an investment into our community. Um, so that's kind of where I'm going in terms of housing. You mentioned something about oh, maybe you didn't. Did you mention upzoning and talking about upzoning? Because that is an issue that I know we are facing in Newton, or we could be facing in Newton. There's a desire, or there was talk about eliminating single family zoning in our community. And I call that the trickle down housing theory. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
So I think the way I might have mentioned it was the TDR program and the idea of sending and receiving zones, because upzoning is a receiving zone. And typically to do it well in a maybe more rural environment than Newton, where you have a lot of open space that's been open for hundreds of years, but is being nibbled away by suburban development, you need to put a fair bit of development in the receiving zone to offset it, so you're not going to the taxpayers to subsidize the deal, to buy those development rights. You're trying to trade them. So I've not worked in a community that's seriously looked at removing single family zoning. That seems like a heavy lift politically, but if Newton's going that direction, that's interesting. I think there is a bona fide need for multifamily housing, which you can call upzoning. I'm seeing a trend still going the opposite direction. Most places that I work or walk or play are willing to play the 40R game a little bit, but most people aren't interested in the North Shore in upzoning their communities. There's still the tendency to roll up the carpet and go the opposite direction, despite what's said. So there's a real conflict between the headlines and the policies and programs they put in place. But there's no doubt that multifamily housing is something we need to get back to for much of the population that can't afford to live in a single family environment. And when you talk about the accessory dwelling units and what's been done in Newton, yeah, it's a great tool. To me, the devil's always in the details, in the design guidelines or standards that go with how you do that. I think accessory dwelling units sounds like a really good idea, but it can be done very poorly